Tuesday, February 10th, board meeting in the district boardroom. And we're going to open the public meeting at 7:02. The first item on the agenda is additions, deletions to the amendments to the agenda and adoption of the agenda.
I move that we add a discussion item for proposed school schedules.
Okay.
Continuing from our work session.
Okay, there's been a motion by Director Wojtowski to add to the discussion part of the agenda to discuss school calendar issues for the next coming year. Seconded by Director Sweeney. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-0 or 5-0. Veronica's not here, I guess. And then we have to add an overnight request by the culinary team for the Pro Start State Championship on March 1st and 2nd at Salem Convention Center.
I move that we add such overnight requests.
Second. Okay. Been motion by Director Wojtowski to add to the agenda the overnight request by the culinary team. Seconded by Director Albright. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes 5-0.
I move that we adopt the agenda with the additions that we just passed.
Sorry.
Okay, there's been a motion by Director Wojtowski to adopt the agenda with the amendments attached, and a second by Director Sweeney. All those in favor, raise your right hand. This passes 5-0. Okay, that brings us to community comments agenda items. This is an opportunity for district citizens to speak on agenda items. Statements should be brief, limited to 3 minutes, and should not reflect adversely on the background, character, or motives of any individual. Those who wish to speak on non-agenda items will have to will have a chance at the end of the meeting. I think we have one. Cheryl Walsh. Have a seat. State your name and your address.
Cheryl Walsh. My address is 20755 Southeast Neck Road, Dayton. I'm gonna say it again. Does that make a difference? Okay. Because it sounds the same to me.
It's on there.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so Cheryl Walsh, 20755 Southeast Neck Road, Dayton. So I'm here to speak about the agenda item that's called employment action in quotes. And I'm also here tonight to follow up on a meeting that I attended in September that I haven't been able to get out of my mind. And it's related to the agenda item. So it's my understanding that this agenda item called employment action is in reference to the English teacher from the high school that was put on leave at the beginning of the year. So I'm here to support her because I don't feel like she got very good support in that meeting, and she's a very wonderful person and a human, and she needs support. And she was attacked that night, and it didn't sit well with me. So I don't know a lot about what's going on, and I understand why I can't know. I'm sure the teacher feels like she can't speak out. I've checked in with administration a few times, and I understand they can't really tell me what's going on, and I don't listen to gossip. So what I have to go on is the past board meeting minutes, which I've looked at, and my own interactions. So reading through the past board meeting minutes and attending the board meeting in September, it sounds like this English teacher asked a couple of questions and showed concern over issues that affected her day-to-day employment and her family, including her daughter who attended the school. And all of us would do the same thing. If our child was being affected or our employment was being affected, we would ask questions. This English teacher raised hard questions, uncomfortable questions, questions that need to be talked about. Not talking, and even more importantly, not listening, is what divides our society right now. At the board meeting in September 9th, I heard a community member refer to this English teacher and her spouse who were advocating for their child as, quote, a problem, and how do we get rid of them, unquote. I heard a board member say, if you're not comfortable, I heard a school board member say, if you're not comfortable with Bible verses, you shouldn't be in Dayton. To that board member who said it under their breath, but loud enough for me to hear in the back row, I want to say that my family has been in Dayton for 100 years, minus 1 year. We've been here for 99 years. And we're on the 4th generation of Dayton High School graduates, and I don't follow the Bible. But I'm happy to share the community, and I respect people that do, and I expect the same respect back to me. The couple was accused of not being members of the community because they lived in a different town. I would say the majority of our teaching staff and administration don't live in Dayton, and even some of our students. But does that make them any less a part of our community? No. We live in a small community. We need all the help we can get. In the time I have known this English teacher, I saw her at all kinds of sporting events where her daughter was not competing, FFA events, National Honor Society events, and community events. Comments like I heard in the September board meeting are exclusionary when we should be welcoming outside opinions and constructive criticism to keep us all in check. We don't live in a bubble. I don't know what's going to happen with the agenda item for employment action tonight, but if this board is voting to fire that English teacher, it's a sad day for Dayton. Please do the right thing and return this high caliber teacher to the classroom. Thank you.
That brings us to the consent agenda. Which approves the regular board meetings, January 13th, 2026, and confirm employment.
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented by Director Albright. There's a second?
Second.
Second by Director Paysinger. There's no discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Passes 5-0. Is Veronica on yet?
Yeah.
Okay, 6-0. Okay, that brings us to the reports, the Equity Committee, Eric and Maria.
Need you, Maria. I'm just gonna say yes.
You all know she does a lot more than just that. We got some slides. So recently the Equity Committee has done a few different surveys, and so tonight we're going to share the one that we did for our community parent survey that we did. It was developed by the Equity Committee, and Maria and I were on the little subcommittee that worked on this one. Do you want to talk a little bit about the rollout of it?
We launched that survey during parents, teacher conferences, and was mainly about, I mean, we're gonna see in the next slide, we're gonna see the topic or the main points.
This is just some of the data that we got.
Can I add some, sorry, not to jump in on your report, but just to remind the board that our equity committee also designed the surveys that we sent to our student, staff, and community based on the goals that we have in Dayton, but also some of our nationally normed surveys that we've looked at. We used to contract out with a survey service, but we couldn't dive into more nuanced data like we can with our own surveys. So Eric and Maria and a lot of others were also on the committee that designed and then codified the surveys to pull out themes. So just wanted to remind the board of that. Sorry to interrupt.
It's fine. So the graph just kind of shows we did use a Likert scale of like 0 to 4, 0 being like really
Least,
least,
like
yeah, and then being more. And it shows kind of where people came in on these different categories. While the support staff professional or teachers professional, you can see those are on the left side. That was the highest rated area. And then on down towards the right, you can see our more concern areas, specifically the last three. Does parents' voice matter? Various groups, does their voice feel heard? Subgroups within our community, and then parent voice overall.
I just want to add in the parents' voice here, must like the vast majority of the comments from the Spanish-speaking families were really positive, but they rated like really bad. I'm guessing they just misunderstood the rating and put one as
One is their first place.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
pretty consistent. Very positive comments, and then they scored.
yeah, because we went over the comments saying they were mainly positive and they feel represented in their voice was here, but the scale was not accurate.
It's important to note. We've got key takeaways on our next slide. And I'll just kind of go through it and you want to just jump in. So areas of strength, and kind of looked at this already with the data, but strong positive perceptions of staff. Specifically, our support staff professionalism was our highest rated area, which is really great.
Yeah. Classified staff and SPED services were the highest rated.
Yep. Which is, as the student services guy, that was really great to see.
Admin work was the highest.
Teachers are viewed as professional and approachable when families have needs. Community members feel like there's a strong collaboration among staff to support student success. And then administrative teamwork is also viewed positively, which is good, just not as high as the other ones. And then the other big area was that safe and well-functioning schools. So overall, families feel schools provide a safe environment. Emergency procedures are viewed as effective, and communication platforms are generally working well for families. And then some areas of improvement on the next slide that we pulled out. Already kind of went over this a little bit, but parents do not feel fully heard. So the lowest rated item was the parent voice being heard. And parents feel group perspectives are underrepresented in decisions. Concerns about impact of feedback. So not only do they not feel heard, they're unsure whether their input leads to action. That was a big one for us to really kind of think about. And indicates a need to strengthen feedback loops and transparency.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Can you tell me a little more about what a group perspective is?
So this would be, we had different questions on there. So like families that are involved with sports as opposed to not involved with sports, or families with kids on like an IEP or a 504 or more just a gen ed student.
Wonderful. Thank you.
ELD students.
ELD students would be one of those categories as well.
Okay. Thank you.
And then just kind of summed up on our last one, the district has a strong operational and relational foundation in the view of our parents that we surveyed. And then just creating more intentional and consistent ways to listen to families and demonstrate how their feedback shapes district decisions. And then Maria and I also met and reviewed all this, and we came up with a list of recommendations that we just had for the equity team. And Maria kind of already touched on it, but one of them is providing a better explanation of the Likert scale for all of our families and in dual language as well, so that there's a better understanding of what that scale means when they're doing the rating. We would like to increase the amount of families that are surveyed. So we talked about how do we do that. So at the grade school, we had launched at conferences. That was really helpful. We talked about the possibility of things like town hall event, as well as on a future survey, adding an option in for parents or families that feel like, if they're not feeling heard, kind of, well, let us fix that. So put your name and your phone number down and we're going to give you a call. And making that personal outreach after that survey is done, so we can kind of get more information and continue to strengthen our ties with the community and supporting them and feeling like they're a part of the district, because they are.
As Eric mentioned, we really want to recommend the district to have a system, like if it's a concern or a family or parent needs extra help, we have someone like following to that, redirecting that concerns to the appropriate person to resolve those.
Right.
Mhm.
If they want us to talk to a building principal specifically, we can get that to that person.
And we do, I just want to mention, like we did had 74 responses, so we need to have a better understanding who responded to those surveys and have like clear numbers, like SPED families, Spanish-speaking families, families that had another part of other programs, making sure that all those populations are represented in the survey.
One of the reasons I asked Eric and Maria to bring the community and parent survey to the board specifically is because we want your help. We've tried different means of eliciting their voice and have struggled to find a platform where they are either able to attend or feel like it's a meaningful enough reason to come. So we're gonna dig in a little deeper with some more targeted questions to see if the community can give us more feedback on that. But once we get their feedback, we would love for the board to help maybe facilitate some of those opportunities for parents to voice their thoughts and concerns.
So I would just say listening sessions are great. And then I think every survey, if you don't have room for open-ended comments, that's where the goal I always find is. You're gonna get some honest and sometimes not so likable feedback, but that really is.
Yeah, and we did have the way the survey was set up, but we had like groups of questions with a Likert scale, and then I tell us why. So we did get a lot, and it was very helpful. You're 100% right there. It was really helpful to read that, and we went through and read all of the comments. And my Spanish is getting better, but I did have Maria translate some for me. So
We end up finding out what's working and what's not, but we don't really find a lot about like what do we do about that? What would
Right.
what would
So
work
the
better,
next,
if that makes sense.
You know, the first thing that came to my mind, you mentioned the parent teacher conferences. I thought that was like just a fantastic idea. And it just got me to think like,
that's right.
get like when I like as a parent, like get me while you've got me.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like if I'm standing in front of you, have me fill out a survey.
That's what we talked about too. Like, so like the May Day thing at the grade school stuff where we know it's going to be highly attended. Trying
Yes.
to target
Yeah.
those where we already know people are going to be in the building.
Yeah. And
While you're here, fill this up.
the one I thought of was I think most sports have like a parent meeting
Mhm.
with the coaches. So make them fill out a survey before they can leave or something.
That's a
Yeah.
great idea. Yeah.
I think we just need to find staff to do that because during conferences, yeah, we had it out, but we didn't really have a staff member like
Right.
having the family
Like a
assignment.
dedicated
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
I guess so like what we do with it after that. I mean, I'm just thinking about the scheduling right now
Yeah.
and when we talk about it more, and I'll just say it again, like to the public, I think we're going to care a lot on that subject
Yep.
in particular about what our parents think is going to work best for their kids academically, for their personal and home schedules. So if we were to choose to move forward with more information, I mean, I think we'll listen to it. So,
That'd be a good first go.
and we can maybe do better of saying, we're making this decision because the community told us
Yep.
X, and then maybe that'll help. I don't know.
Totally. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to professionalism and goal standards. Dana, Jamie, and Robin.
Yeah. They were missing me. Amy's coming up with this.
Sure.
Yeah. They're real interesting.
It's a power team.
Yeah.
I'll start. Want me to start? You start?
Sure.
Huh?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hello. How about I'll start coffee? So at the beginning of the year in August, when we met with our admin group, one of the biggest areas that we talked about was just professionalism, professional responsibilities. And we took that pretty seriously and put it in the form of building culture and knowing that that is probably one of the hardest things to shift. And it takes time. But we dove right in and we just used this last week, kind of just as a reminder, we're starting a second semester. That photo was taken during in-service and after we had just done a really great activity with our staff and kind of united our group. And so sometimes at this time of the year, it's good to kind of remember how you felt right there. The sun was shining. No. And so from that late fall, early winter, we started Amy had asked us to do a team health rubric assessment, which is basically, I think it's the next slide. Yeah. So that just kind of is those are the areas that we're looking at. And we've done this, we've looked through this rubric with like our secretarial team or like in some smaller groups, but we were really looking at through the lens of our whole staff because that is really where we've done the most team work is with our whole staff because in a small school, you only have one 6th grade English teacher and one 7th grade social studies teacher. So sometimes it's harder to have some of those PLC type groups. So we've been really focusing on our whole staff. And so, you too. We can all be winked at. So at the beginning of the year, we decided to create some agreed upon professional norms, and we share these every Monday prior to our late start, just to remind everybody what we've agreed to. And there's times when you notice maybe some people veering away from one or the other. And so we just keep bringing them forward. So there's never a question. And I think overall, our staff has really responded to these. Yep. And then, so what we did first with that rubric is we asked our staff to go through it 2 times because in the fall we did the Strengths Finder with our whole staff, and we talked a lot about the Strengths Finder, and so we wanted them to first think about their own role in the team when they went through that rubric to determine where they are at in their like contribution to the team. Are they adding value or are they potentially finding themselves, in places where maybe it's taken away that value of what we're trying to work toward? And then we had them do it again through the lens of us, like as a whole, how do we think we are doing? And so I did not put this slide in, I did not. And so I just pulled it up here, but one of the, we asked them to go through and do a Google form and let us know how we were doing through this lens. And then we put them in teams. I think that's the next one. Yes, we put them in teams and we decided to do an interactive activity in the theme of Ted Lasso, the locker room conversation. And so basically we put them in teams and we asked 4 different questions. And so the first question was, what are we doing well? So they basically, after they went through and assessed and they wrote notes on their rubric, they were able to identify what we were doing well, but we also wanted them to be specific, like, this is where I think we're doing well. And then from there, we rotated. And so they went to somebody else's paper and they read what those people thought they were doing well. But then they answered the second question, which is, where are we still developing? Because that was one beginning, or developing was one of the factors. And same thing, cite specific evidence. And then they rotated again. And then they wrote, based off of just what they'd been reading, they wrote one goal that they thought would help move us forward. And then the 4th one was then they went to the next one and saw what the other person the group put as a goal. Then they wrote some action steps that would help meet that goal. And so this was a really good activity. We were able to have some good discussion. The one fail forward, I guess, or thing that we learned was that we got some vague goals, and it was really hard to, like, things like some consistency, but was like, with what? You know, like not, needs to be more consistent or something like that. And so we went through and we gathered all the data, we put it together, kind of got some themes from what we had learned, but then we actually had them go back through and do this again about 3 weeks later, maybe a month later, do this again individually now that we'd gone through it, because we were going to need to get some more specific information. So after we went through it again, they filled it out and they thought of it through the lens of our whole entire team again. And so some of the areas that came out strong were professional tone, collaboration, and respectful disagreement, which that was really positive because those are things that all contribute to our culture, and we need to be able to have tough conversations, and we need to be able to question things that we're not sure about. But the slide that I didn't have was what came out as that we're doing well within that is just our staff felt like the number one thing we're doing well is student-centered commitment, so that our decisions and actions are consistently prioritizing what's best for students with a strong focus on student success, accountability, and well-being. So that was good because that is what we want to be at the center of our decisions. And that was by far the top. And then collaboration was the second. Collaboration and mutual support, that staff are working well together, supporting one another, and they hold each other accountable for the things that we're trying to work on. And then the third one was adaptability and follow through for students. They adapt well to change and consistently show up to provide wraparound support for our students. So very student-centered, which was great. And then we asked if we go, so the thing that wasn't, or that we wanted to do better was that needs to improve was consistency and alignment, the extent to which expectations, systems, and practices are applied consistently across classrooms, teams, and initiatives. And so that's that first one you see up there. It was by far the most glaring, but it was around cell phone use and headphone use at 6 through 12, which is a huge undertaking, as you can imagine, with the governor's order and things like that. But and we started pretty strong with that at the beginning of the year, and slowly it becomes it really becomes a difficult thing because it often requires confrontation with students. And as you can see, they have such a heart for kids, and so sometimes that's hard, especially when kids are just like, no, I'm not going to give it up. I'm not going to, and then sometimes it's just like, I don't want to get into it. And so we're taking our staff back, and that's the one we're going to focus on first, because that really is something that we have the means in place to support that. And so, but we were able to show the comments that were made. And so everyone knows that this isn't just us saying like, this is something we need. It was something that they're feeling. And so we want to get better at that. The second area that kind of came up was, it's still back on that one. That's okay. Was within our culture, we've made strong progress. There was just talk at the beginning of the year about, how you show up in spaces like staff rooms and hallways, and, the way that you're talking, and how people learn from what they hear and see. And so just tons of strong strides that have been made in the culture. But every once in a while, the staff room can get a little bit, some conversations can be a little bit negative that make it feel less inviting for others. So we're going to do a different activity on a different day where we're going to create some norms that we can post in the staff room, just as a reminder, because everybody needs time to vent, but maybe picking where you do that with just your person that you, not necessarily in public area. And then the third one was student engagement and support, but really around that MTSS process that we're talking about. We are implementing it, and we're doing way better than we have, but it is still a work in progress. And some people just want a little more clarity around that piece. And so we're going to do a whole segment on that, but we decided to just focus on the top one.
Multi-tiered system.
Multi-tier system of support.
Like our 9th grade on track work is an example of that.
I did that. She's sorry.
Yeah.
I absolutely did not know.
Yeah.
So we took this to the staff, and we just basically we just put it up there. This is what came out. And then from there, go ahead. And we kind of reviewed what our policy is, and it still is our policy. And we are 100% committed to following through with it. But we've noticed that not necessarily, I would say most people have gone to the first offense and they kind of continue to repeat that, where it's like, take it, give it back, take it. And so we can't do anything more because if we don't know or if it hasn't been part of our tracker. And so we do have a tracking system. We shared it with everyone so they can actually go put their information on themselves so we can like all be on the same page. And we're going to start over with semester 2. We did talk about how big of a beast this is because it's not just a matter of kids being compliant, because they are highly addicted to the cell phone. And so we talked about the areas that we can control, which would be it for all of us for teachers, it's what they can control in their classroom. So if they see kids in the hallway with it, or if they hear that they're using them in the bathrooms, I mean, let's tackle the part that we can make the biggest impact first. And we will continue to work on these, but focus on that piece of it. And then just the admin support and what we're willing to do to help whoever needs what. And then the parent conversations that we'll have with parents. We even have kids that will go text their parents in the bathroom, and then their mom will call and say, hey, my daughter just texted me. I'm like, trying to stop that. But yeah, so we had, so we put them in groups again, and we had them work through some guiding questions. And I had some copies, but I left them out in my car. But basically, we had them frame the problem after we talked this through and shared some stuff, so that they're really clear about what the problem is. And there was some questions that guided that. And then clarifying the expectations so we reduce gray areas. Is it okay if this happens, or is it okay? They discussed barriers and realities, like what gets in the way, and being honest about that. Like some of those power struggles are really tough. And then the student perspective, like anticipating how we can get more buy-in from students on this so that they maybe understand why, that we're not just doing this. And then they began to design maybe a potential solution to, like, one solution that maybe we could try to make this problem be less of a problem. And so then they all went around and shared kind of their ideas. And some of the big things that came out were just around like the education of it for students. Really, the addiction piece was huge, and how can we help them understand that piece of it and know like what it's doing to their brains. And also, we do a Pirate Weekly update every week that goes out to families. And so maybe just starting to have super small chunks of information that just help people understand like just some boundaries and limitations within the use of cell phones. And so we're just going to keep working at it. And we got some great ideas. And I think that it was a hard conversation, and I think it went fairly well, and we will continue to come back to it because it's not a one-time. And so that's why we ended with our Ted Lasso. Doing the right thing is the wrong thing, because we are all, and we really helped each other. I'm hoping the bigger picture is that people can understand that if we don't all follow through with what we've agreed on, it actually breaks down the culture amongst our staff. And we don't, because they start, well, this was teacher, let's hear that, and like, we don't want that. Like we want to be a united front. So this is kind of a big piece of our lift. But what I loved about it was, it wasn't like this glaring, like, oh gosh, the sky is falling. It was like, we have a lot of great things happening, but it allowed us to focus in on something specific, and it's something that's going to make us better. So that was very positive.
Great.
I have a rough voice.
Yeah.
I almost went to get you a water.
Any questions or?
This is great.
And I would think when the consistency is there, it is ultimately easier on the kids, because when they kind of think, maybe in this class, or she doesn't generally call me on it, then you're always sort of, working the margins. But it's just like, man, every single time they have to,
Yep.
then
And it might take a couple weeks for them to get that we mean it. That, same with tardies, same with all of that. It's like,
and also
It's-
don't
no.
envy that position.
no. Yeah, it's tough. It's not an easy lift. Yes. And so is the law, which helps.
Yeah.
Details.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So it seems like buy-in and alignment have been progressing? Is that?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I think it has a lot. It's just now we can get a little more minute in areas that we can polish a little bit.
It's tangible in meetings and professional development and walking through the halls. I think the work that these ladies have done has been masterful in that it's not a top-down hammer to bring up the bar for professionalism. It's really a who do we want to be and how do we want to represent Dayton and how can we come together to make that happen? And it's been fun to watch and it's been just astounding to see how much progress the staff has made due to their hard work and their leadership just over this first semester of the school year.
Well, and I'll just piggyback on what Robin said in her thing about the semester 2 schedule. Like, we had a team of people, a 6, 12, team that was working on this, and all of us but one got the flu. And so it literally was a Christmas miracle. It happened, but it wouldn't have happened if everyone wouldn't have come together. But we had been working on it, all the background stuff, for several weeks, and then came down to actually doing the work. And then we all got really, really sick. But we kept going, and this person would pick up or that, but it was this total team, and we were Zooming each other and making, and I think that in itself right there it wasn't like left for one person or just pieced together. It was like, no, we're committed to this.
And you can't ask a staff to do what you're not willing to model for them, right? So
Right.
that
Mhm.
teamwork and that unfortunate
Yeah.
hard work while you have the flu, is top tier.
Mhm.
And Dave got roped into a little bit of.
Yeah.
So Dana, we've talked a little bit at times about kind of this belonging gap between junior high, high school and the grade school. Do you feel like that's narrowing?
I definitely do. Just the fact that our K-12 in services have been so focused on what are the instructional strategies that are going to move kids, and it doesn't matter if you're a kindergarten teacher or a ninth grade English teacher or a math teacher or a specialist, that our strategies are the same. And so we brought our students back to the center of those conversations. And when you talk about students, all educators can talk about them and engage in the strategies that work. And I think our K-12 focus has been amazing because it's allowing us to then come back together and have those common conversations about what we're doing and what we see working, and the why behind it. And they just are it feels more joyful.
Mhm.
It really does. And I don't get a sense of all the junior high staff sit here and all the grade school staff sit here. They do. I'm just like everybody does when they go to their class or whatever. You sit in the same spots no matter what, but they will mix together, and there's a lot more talking and kind of that flow of just good conversation.
And some demystifying of what each grade level's
Mhm.
doing. I think at one of the recent professional development, I heard a secondary language arts teacher thank a K2 teacher for the work that they're doing in early literacy to prepare students. And they know what the work is that they're doing, and they know what the results have been from that work. So just that demystifying of what are we all trying to do as a team and how is that working for kids helps us build trust with each other.
And I think in our leadership team meetings and our admin meetings, they hear about the teamwork that we're doing to solve problems, and not just me solving problems for my building, but what do you have? How can we work together to solve those problems? It's just a lot more creative and collaborative.
Even when we were doing this assessment piece, remember you were like, we all were like, what are we doing? Who's doing
Yeah.
what? Like, we just started a little conversation about
Yeah.
it.
How are you doing it? This is how I think we're going to do it.
Mhm.
And in a good way so that we can make it applicable for where we are as a staff, but also, again, there's a shared understanding and a shared experience.
I need to pause and express my gratitude for that. Every superintendent I've had since I've been on the board, like the first topic in my first meeting with them is this is not about do I teach kindergarten, third grade, seventh grade, 12th grade, who helps them graduate. It's all of you guys. And I am just so thankful to hear you sharing this with us, that it's happening. These conversations are happening. And I think we're going to continue to see these improvements in how our students are doing. And just thank you. Thank you so much for that.
And I know Dana and the team is going to talk a little bit more about literacy, but the way that the last professional development was planned was really powerful in that you heard Jamie talk, I think, at a previous board meeting about how student writing samples were literally placed on a wall and kind of categorized as, meeting or not meeting or far from meeting or exceeding. And they got to physically see the movement of student writing toward more proficient and see that K-12. And so that win and seeing it in such a tangible way and not waiting for some scores to come out next fall, I think is validating to staff who are putting in the work. That's not easy.
Do you want to go? What do you have?
I'm just happy. I'm just here for morals.
You already
Mark.
got, okay.
We got to grill her for an hour already. So she's on break.
Well, I supplied two different packets. One's I think it's the state of the school, and it talks about student data. And the other one is our the same rubric that Jamie showed that had professional tone and all those are also put in here because we went over these in two consecutive late starts. And so at this time of the year, we always do an official, like, where are we? How are we doing? And at the elementary school, it really is a lot easier to compare the cohorts. So you can compare what the kindergartners were doing at the end of kindergarten to what they're doing now in first grade. And so I have two slides that will be projected today, and it's basically the highlights out of both packets, and you'll be able to look at more. This first slide is from the state of the school, and this is all about student data. And as you go through that packet, you're going to see all of our data points from IXL ELA, IXL Math, which is a diagnostic and nationally normed test, and then our BAS, which is our benchmark assessment system. And that is used primarily for K through 2 grades and any reader who's below level, because it gives you just a deeper look at what you need to work on with that student. Last year in June, our kindergartners ended the year 59% at level in reading. And right now those same first graders are at 71% at level. 75% in second grade at the end of first grade, 78% now. And I have to add in that section that when you get to the 70s, that movement gets a lot slower because everything's getting a lot harder. So you tend to see a lot of growth at first, but the last few percentage points after 70 they take longer. 49% at the end of second grade, those students are now at 66% on level. 53% of our third graders last year, those same students are now at 71%, and 42% of our fourth graders are now at 57% at level in fifth grade. And it is really important that we celebrate these wins, because every single teacher can tell you exactly what they did for every student to get there and what they're still trying. And often we get caught up in where we haven't made growth, and it gets a little overwhelming. So really wanted them to see this point, because our goal in K first and second is to have our students at 95%. And I told you guys at the beginning of the year that that is a really lofty goal. And we celebrated that even if we don't make 95, shooting for that has got we have a lot of growth going on. And the staff talked about the things that we think are attributing to this, and a lot of our professional development this year about really being purposeful and very clear on what we're teaching and choosing to go deeper into what we're teaching instead of just trying to here's this, here's this, here's this, here's this. Let's just keep going. On top of that, we've been working on our professionalism. And at the beginning of the year, our staff got together. We talked about what different elements of professionalism, what that might look like. And the staff took their survey, and actually they took the rubric, they scored it themselves, they added information about why they thought it was that we deserved that score. And then we got together in our trust circles, which is something that we've been doing all year. Tanya Hill has been leading our staff through some care and connection work to build those trusting relationships. And it always starts with you thinking deeply about something that you think and then talking with others. So it allows us to practice respectful disagreement and viewpoint and professional tone. And how do we show that we're passionate about something without showing that we're angry about something, which are all very important in our collegial relationships. Our staff, after turning in all of the scoring, scored ourselves proficient in professional tone, proficient in collaboration, and proficient in accountability to norms. And I have to say, Amy always laughs because elementary teachers are all and they will follow the rule. And this is where we get to the next one. They'll follow the rule, but then they'll go back and be like, why do we have to do this? And so that whole piece of respectful disagreement, it's not that we aren't respectful. It's just that often they just won't disagree with others because they don't want to rock the boat. And we have to rock the boat because that's how we get to the real nitty gritty of what we need to be doing. And then in growth mindset, it was marked developing. And that I feel like has a lot, based on the comments, has a lot to do with how we respectfully disagree because and how we're trusting each other. In your packet, you'll see each individual survey result. And you'll also see a summary of the comments that were given in each section. Staff agreed to focus on growth mindset because let's pick a spot and go. And so we have an action plan in that packet. And the second piece of the action plan is what we have planned to meet each of those sub goals under growth mindset. And so we'll be launching all of those activities. We already had some of them in line. We'd been talking about peer observations as a leadership team, and we figured out a way to launch those so that our PLCs will go out and see other grade levels. And the grade level gets to sign up and basically show off a strategy or a lesson and just a small snippet of something that they feel has been really effective. And so we'll be able to share those effective strategies outside of our grade levels, which doesn't happen very often.
It's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome, guys. Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to the discussion part of the agenda, schedule of board events. The next board meeting, we'll have a work session March 10th at 6 o'clock, and then the regular board meeting following at 7. That brings us to the business part of the agenda.
We had added
Oh, that's right, the discussion of the schedule. Yeah. So do we want to just?
You brought it up.
You want me to start?
Eh,
I'm not the board chair.
No, so yeah. So we want to discuss what we want to do further. If we want them to go ahead and get more information on all the problems, or not problems. Yeah,
All the solutions.
yeah, all the solutions, or the calendar. Or do
And
we-
then, and reach out to parents
Yes.
again and try to
Yeah.
get more feedback there. Well, I'll just share one thing. And Robin's still here, so maybe if we need her to come up and give us some more information, she could. She's gonna regret not leaving, but one thing that was kind of swirling around in my mind when I was kind of asking, like, why did these districts change? Did they see what they wanted to see out of it? Was I was starting to see some bit of a correlation to like actual time learning. I don't want to use the term seat time because we know that's a loaded subject now, but
Instructional time.
instructional time, or support time, that creative stuff on the Fridays. It felt to me like it wasn't about going to 4 days instead of 5. It felt like actually adding time with our students, because the 4-day schedule had more time to begin with, and we were adding on. I mean, it was kind of like getting a 6th day is what it felt like to me in that conversation. And so we were cramming all of that great instructional time into 4 days, plus adding on that bonus time on the 5th day. And I don't know if in the studies that's what made the difference, but it felt like that's kind of where things were kind of coming up, like that, where differences in school districts were actually happening is because of how they were using that time. So, it actually just made me a little more skeptical about moving to a 4-week schedule. Unless we felt, unless we were really behind that additional time investment for kids, that, I don't know. I guess it just kind of kept me more on the fence than anything. Just my thoughts.
Well, too, just as if we have that 4-day schedule, the athletes go into their athletic events, we'll have to leave we'll miss a lot of class
On a 4-day.
on a 4-day schedule.
We did ask that question, and that was one of those things where it had less of a negative impact than what we
Yeah.
would have guessed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not locked in one way or the other. I think we have to be creative about our instructional strategies and how we get some extra time for those kids that need a little additional instruction. And just because my education worked with a 5-day model, little different time. I think really trying to meet kids where they're at. I think we need to look at every option out there. I am gonna ask you for the data, as we move potentially forward in this process. It seems to me like much more what we're doing, that focus on literacy, for this. You see the states that have made some radical educational progress and change. That seems to be a cornerstone of all of them.
Well, my take is, well, actually two things. Kids can't learn unless they show up for school. So, and Robin said it right in the beginning, if it increases our attendance rate, I'm gonna vote yes for that reason alone, because they're not gonna learn anything unless they show up. So that's kind of my take. And the other thing I think is we need to make a decision even tonight, whether we're gonna be open to this, because if there's a majority of board members right now that no matter what the data is, you're gonna vote no, let's not waste people's time. So, I think it's let's fish or cut bait here. If you're gonna vote no, no matter what, say so now, and let's say these guys.
Well, then I'll piggyback on that. I want to say no, no matter what. It's a terrible idea. However, I am open to the study. So to me, the couple of studies I've read do not lead me to be interested in this at all. Sorry. Not very proud.
I'll help you.
Thank you.
Got it. So I will be open, if you can show compelling reasons we should do this, I will open my mind to that. So far, it seems nominal. It's like, well, up here, down here, it's not a lot. I know, and I get that, I just really need to see that it's really better for students. I'm much more, and I started out by reading studies that are negative on this, I guess. I started with the University of Oregon study. So it's like, why are we spending the time on it, honestly? However, I really will. If you can show me compelling reason why we should, I will be open. I give you my word on that. I think the block schedule in a 5-day makes sense to me, and I would like to see the data on that as well. But I think the more instructional time, I think anything that changes up what we're doing to increase what the students are going to get. We know our scores we're moving in the right direction. That's awesome. Everyone in the country has started so low, like we kind of have to go up. There's not that far down to go. So anyway, I would like to see something that will really work, but I need to be convinced for sure.
Well, so, I mean, Amy, what's your advice?
It's not much different from the graduation requirement conversation, in that to me, it's rarely the system or the schedule you implement, but the team you have and the intention with which you implement the plan. And so I'm actually less interested in the data, because I think the data already shows there's very little data. And so we'd be really fishing for confirmation
Yeah.
of our opinions if we looked too much deeper. But I'd be interested in the team that we have, who I strongly feel is one of the best teams in the state, to devise a schedule that they think maximizes learning and opportunities for students, whether it be days or length of periods that does that. But how creative can the team get to come up with something that works for their kids? And if not many school districts in Oregon are finding success, I don't think we should follow who's doing a mediocre job that might be the
Yeah.
best of the worst. Do you know what I mean?
I
I
agree.
think we need to lead the charge. And I think we have the brains on our team to do that. And I think we can look at research around instructional strategies and instructional opportunities and lesson design and how to structure class periods so that students can grow more than a year in a year's time. And start with what are our goals and look at the research on how do kids grow the most, and then what schedule accommodates that plan. I am really aligned with Craig in that we need more flexibility in the schedule to personalize the education that our students get. I don't have an opinion on whether that's a 4-day. I have concerns about a 4-day week, because I think pulled off really well, you're going to see great gains. I think if we don't pull it off well, you know what I mean? It's in how you
But
implement
you're
it.
saying, like, you could say that about a 5-day
Anything,
schedule,
anything,
the same. Yeah.
anything. I do think that this current schedule we have is not ideal for what we're trying to accomplish.
Did you guys, so one other thought that came into my mind was somehow, like, kind of taking the benefits of the block schedule with this, like, Friday flex day. I'm just gonna
Yep.
call it a Friday flex day thing. Could we combine those so it's not like Friday is optional for some?
It's like a C day.
like-
You have an A day and a B day, and then you have
And then you got
yeah,
Friday that's like
a different kind of day.
this great support day thing. Like, can something like that fit into all of our state requirements for instructional time and as
Yeah.
well as create this flexibility. And some of those things we saw in Sheridan that were pretty creative for Fridays that provided really great targeted supports for our students. That's what I kept thinking. Maybe that's the way we go. Is that?
Yeah, potentially. I think what's the biggest challenge right now, or what I'm hearing from our admin team and honestly hearing from our staff as well, is there's so much to do. And for the first time since I've been here, it feels like there's alignment in wanting to do it and the direction we're heading and a hunger to do it, but there's not the dedicated time to do it in a way that gets it off the ground, because you have an in-service day and you get excited about what's happening and you have some tools, and then you wait a few months, or the next Monday is so full of IEP meetings or these freshmen on track meetings or whatever it is that are also necessary, because if we're not doing those, then we're not monitoring if our ninth graders are on track to graduate. So there's just so much what you measure and collaborate around is what you see growth in. But just in education as well as in the other industry, right? And so there's so much that we are trying to do that we just can't carve the time out to get it off the ground as quickly as we all want to.
And it seems like you're answering the question. I don't think we look at a 4-day week or a 5-day week.
Yeah.
I trust the minds that are in the room to make the best path for our kids. So go do that.
Yeah.
And come back and tell us what you truly believe is going to work best for our kids.
I like that.
What I
That's what I
heard
was-
is
yeah.
these people just got nominated to be on my committee.
Free bud. Yeah. Mhm.
I'll join you. I'll join you. And so then I think then the next question is how much time do you want? That sounds like something that you don't want to shove into the next 4 months.
Like planning for next year, or the following year, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Like, and I know I've asked to delay some things a little bit because I don't want us to jump into something. I still think that's the right thing to do, even if it takes like 2 more years,
The
because
trickiest,
it's a big change.
the logistical part is it's also going to be nice if we make a significant change in the calendar or schedule to align it with bargaining, because it's going to impact
Hmm,
the
to
collective
say.
bargaining agreement as well. I mean, you can always make an MOU or whatever, but it's that timing does impact it a little bit too. So I think
Bargaining year, next year's a bargaining
this is a bargaining year.
This is a bargaining.
I think what could make sense is for them recommending as part of this, if it could be a this year thing or a next year thing, and then we would need to elicit the help of board members to collect voices if they present 3 different models to you. So each of you hold some, coffee forms or something to try to get feedback as quickly as possible. Then from the community, we'll send a survey too, but if we're trying to do it this year, that would be what I would recommend.
Okay.
I'm thinking we're wanting to Robin come back for the March meeting and give us some form of, maybe it's not a 4-day, maybe it's not a block, maybe
But-
it's a combination of, or just something different.
I think it would be helpful just to hear, like, from your vantage points, you articulate what you have heard or read that moves the dial. For instance, I know Piper, I hear you saying the longer class periods, being able to dive deeper into a lesson is something that you would like to see in something that's proposed. I've heard everyone say kids being at school,
I
is
think
something.
especially for CTE, the longer periods are
Yeah.
good, because right now you show up maybe in Charlie's shop class, you get something out, you get to work. By the time you prepare and get everything you need, you get to work on it for 15 minutes and you got to put it all
Yeah,
away.
yeah.
And it's worthless. So,
So with
I-
that model of Friday, a creative Friday kind of thing could be
Yeah.
something that.
Yeah, I agree with those two, and the maximizing that time, because again, it sounded like just like more time seemed to be the thing that really contributed to students. And I know we can't make up time, but
More time for students and more time for PD. You guys need to make more time in the
and
day.
that's fair. That's not lost on me. I don't want it to make it, because I think that those late start mornings are very important if we're using that time meaningful, right? So I don't want it to sound like I don't support that. I'll tell you, I had like a 7-period schedule in middle school. I went to Eugene schools, and then I had a block schedule in high school. And I experienced in home ec, we called it home ec in middle school, that you could barely get the ingredients. I mean, the exact example, Robin, that you gave. And then in high school, in art class, where you could actually do some art in your class because you had 90 minutes to work on it. So I totally see the value in the more time. I've experienced it myself.
And I would encourage people to be open-minded because I hear things like sixth graders can't handle 90 minutes. Our kindergartners are sitting in class for 6 hours. So you can design lessons in a way that allows our kids to be engaged in lessons.
Yeah, that's the whole key, keeping them engaged. Don't speak for 40 minutes and put them to sleep and then say, okay, do homework for the next 10.
So it would require some professional development around lesson design and some collaboration on the teacher's part to figure out how to leverage lesson design, but it's doable for sure. Got that, Robin?
Quick notes.
Okay. That brings us to the business part of the agenda, the second reading and approval of board policies.
And these we all went through the last meeting.
For a motion? Yeah, looking for a motion to adopt them.
I move we approve the board policies as presented.
Second.
It's been a motion to approve the board policies as presented by Director Albright and seconded by Director Fatesinger. There's no discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-0. Okay, there's some overnight requests presented by Cody Stahl for FBLA for the state champ competition, April 9th through 11th in Eugene. And another one for national competition, June 29th through July 2nd in San Antonio, Texas.
And remind me, which one was, we had an addition?
The culinary, and then an overnight request submitted by Krista Carpino for Pro Start.
Okay,
state
that one's on here.
competition, March 1st and 2nd. It's actually on here.
Yeah. Well, I move that we approve all 3 overnight requests.
Been a motion by Director Wojtowski to approve all 3 overnight requests presented and seconded by Director Albright. If there's no discussion, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-0. The SIA grant agreement. Who'll be next? So that's in your packet. We just need a motion to accept it, correct?
ODE technically needs the board to approve the grant agreement. It was already presented at a previous meeting.
Make a motion to approve the SI grant agreement.
Second.
It's a motion by Director Paysinger to approve the SIA grant agreement, second by Director Wojtowski. There's no discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-0. Now we have the integrated pest management.
Terry's got a list of questions on
You said it already, we're just voting on it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I got a couple questions. We have an ant problem at the district office.
And in computers.
Have we sprayed?
I just say it like the report says it costs us $20. Ants remain. I feel like maybe we need to spend more than $20.
We hired a company that.
Okay, we still got ants?
Doesn't work very well.
We have tighter rules at a school district than most people for dealing with pests.
And that leads to our next question, on the mice.
Trying to ask for.
No, pitch packs,
What?
pitch packs,
What is that?
it's those little packets and they got poison in them, you just throw them around.
On the playgrounds and such.
Well, I'm not allowed to use any district employee unless we have an applicator license, we're not allowed to use any chemical.
Okay.
So we have to hire.
Yeah, we have to hire that out, so we can use like mechanical.
What about like Arrow? That Taro stuff.
The ants remain, Piper. The ants remain. I said the ants remain. Taro is not helping.
I will give you Piper's question.
Oh, okay.
I admitted I didn't read the past report. I'm afraid it didn't.
Potentially at the
No,
district office with the kids, but not like the schools.
So Otto, just so you know, Amy bet me that I couldn't ask 3 questions about pest control.
Sorry, Otto.
I was gonna say, I was impressed.
Thank you.
We'll get another one in a year.
Sounds like Carrie has a motion.
And for the record, they are not in the kitchen. That just for everybody to know, there's none in the
Yes,
kitchen.
thank you for putting that on record.
I make a motion to approve the integrated pest management plan.
I second.
There's been a motion by Director Paysinger to approve the integrated pest management plan and seconded by Director Whitowski. There's no discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-0. Okay, that brings us to the open hearing on the employment action.
All right, this item is on the agenda. I am recommending the termination of Miss Wilson Gabor's employment based on substantiated findings from an independent third-party investigation and the resulting impact on workplace operations and professional trust. Ms. Wilson Gabor was provided written notice and an opportunity to be heard. In response, she requested to address the board in an open session, which is why this matters before you this evening. My recommendation is grounded in those findings and operational considerations. I will not be discussing personnel details or matters involving other employees in an open forum. I respectfully submit this recommendation to the board for action after Ms. Wilson gives testimony. You're welcome to.
Good evening. I am here tonight to address the issue of my continued employment. First, let me say that none of the allegations presented tonight are about my teaching. Rather, they are vaguely related to the way in which I work with others. In 17 years across 3 different states, I have never had a disciplinary issue or even a note in my file, including here in Dayton. Those who know me know that from my very first month here, I expressed my desire to teach in Dayton until I retire. The students here are among the most kind, empathetic, and genuinely good people that I have encountered in my entire career. The suggestion that I would knowingly jeopardize that is simply untrue. What I was placed on leave for is not what I was investigated for, and the timeline illustrates that. None of these issues occurred prior to me being out of the building. Until I was placed on leave for sending an email, one written in accordance with district and union protocol, yet without receiving any prior direction or coaching from union members. I maintained strong and positive relationships with administrators, the district office, and much of the staff on the 612 campus. My placement on leave came as a surprise to many, as evidenced by the numerous calls and messages that I received expressing confusion and concern. It is not surprising to me that many of the values that I expressed while in the building came up tonight at the board meeting, such as having tough discussions, working through difficult conversations, doing what's best for students, and leading each day with a growth mindset. It must be stated that the reason that I was put on leave was this email, but the investigation that ensued created panic and disdain within the school district. But none of this was my choice. As I look around the room tonight, I see families of students and spouses of colleagues with whom I have worked closely. Some of your children have shared that they felt challenged, supported, and engaged in my classroom, learning deeply while also building positive relationships, even calling me the GOAT, which you repeated to me numerous times in meetings. I made it a priority to support students who needed additional help, hosting one-on-one meetings, setting up personalized plans, and collaborating with you as families to make sure that your children's specific needs were met. Others here, I had the pleasure of working with their spouses. championing their programs at every level when they were well-loved and also when they were under criticism. I donated my time in and out of the school building to help support these programs and push for their growth and continued success. I attended board meetings when our curriculum was under public scrutiny to help clarify what supports student achievement so that informed decisions could be made. I did these things because supporting strong programs and people is what is best for students, and that is how I do my job well. It is true that I speak up when ethical concerns, student achievement, or student safety is at stake. While that may be uncomfortable at times, it does not make it wrong. In fact, I was recognized with a Curiosity Award by Dr. Fast for my willingness to ask these difficult questions while also advocating for students. It is ironic to me that I am here tonight after consistently championing district initiatives and programming, often in the face of pure resistance, but I did that because I believed that they were right for students. None of these allegations suggest that I am a poor teacher or an unsafe one. Instead, they question whether I fit the culture of this community, and I believe that I do. Rather than stay isolated in my room, I supported other teachers' initiatives, whether that be through leadership's events where I donated a $500 grant that I had earned, and through my National Honor Society students voting to support with desserts in a time of crisis. I can also be seen when I attend speech and debate auctions, driving their team when needed on weekends, or volunteering to drive the middle school cross-country race, and signing up to help build and coach a new cross-country team. It can also be seen when I champion the FFA state convention overnight and while chaperoning it. Maybe it could be seen when I was asked by the administration to lead a group of ELA teachers through writing curriculum and analyzing data, despite it being loudly criticized by some of those present. I remained professional in tough situations with other staff members and always took Dr. Fast up on the opportunity to have tough conversations. However, when I presented an issue that would be categorized as such, I was placed on leave and removed from the picture. No conversation to have. It has been stated that this relationship is unrepairable. Yet at every opportunity this year and in years prior, I have attempted to repair it, only to be met with barriers. My presence here tonight demonstrates that I remain professional, committed to collaboration, and willing to engage in difficult conversations. That is the lesson that I strive to teach my students. That integrity requires dialogue, accountability, and adherence to ethical standards by those that were hired or elected to do so. As a history and English teacher, I am acutely aware of the patterns of history and the weight of the decisions made in moments like this. The choice before you is significant, and I trust that you will make it with students at the center and with a clear understanding of my record, my values, and my dedication to this community. I cannot ignore the glaring metaphor of a dedicated teacher juxtaposed with immorality. The choice is ultimately yours, but it does boil down to a student-first, high-achieving, dedicated, and passionate teacher and a pedophile. The choice is yours, and it always will be.
Okay, thank you. So we're looking for a board motion to support the employment action asked by Dr. Fast.
So I have a question before we do this. Amy hires and fires. Hire and firing is not a board activity. Why are we voting on this?
What legal counsel
Oh, that's a good
advised.
Good to know. Good to know. Okay, now, thank you. So we're looking for a motion?
Yep.
I gotta support Amy's decision on this, and I make a motion that we support Amy's decision.
I'll second that.
It's been a motion by Director Paysinger to accept Dr. Fast's employment action and a second by Director Albright. There's no more discussion. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes 6-0. Okay, that brings us to the executive session. Where the board is now going to the executive session. This section specifically permits executive sessions to consult with council legal rights and duties. This is not the right one. Representatives all.
To review and evaluate, yes, certainly.
Okay. To review and evaluate the performance of the superintendent or any other public officer, employee, or staff member unless the person requests an open hearing under ORS 192.6602I. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on, otherwise disclose any other deliberations or anything said about these subjects during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No discussion may be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, we will return to open session and welcome the audience back in the room. So I'm going to close the public meeting at 8:23. Okay, I'm going to open the regular board meeting back at 8:43. Okay, so that brings us to board reflection. Craig, you got anything?
I really enjoyed just hearing the discussion around schedule. What really gives me great hope is just every time we have these discussions, we come up what's best, and what's best for our district. And I truly in my heart of hearts believe that we will accomplish amazing things as long as we keep that focus.
That's what I think. I think by putting it in Robin's hands and the team, maybe they came up with something completely different that really works for us, and then all of a sudden everybody wants to go what Dayton's doing. So, hey, it's not a 4-day week, it's not a block schedule, it's a mixture of it. And this really works. Look at our scores. So I think we're in good hands. Piper, you got anything?
The one thing I would say is that I, as much as I feel, like I said, pretty strongly against a 4-day week, the case was made, I think, very well of what could be done with a Friday. And so then that sort of idea of a mixture, and again, I'm saying a mixture, what do they come up with that has something to tell us this will move the needle?
Some kind of hybrid.
Yeah. Is encouraging, but I think that the case was made of that we need to get creative and we can't just do it the way we've been doing it. It clearly needs to change. So
Yeah.
that's exciting.
Carrie, anything?
Me?
Yep.
I have confidence in the team that Amy has put together.
Yeah.
And you've done a great job putting a great team together. And we did a great job hiring you. So life is good.
So it's really us.
The board is taking responsibility for all.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay, future agenda items. I think nobody's got anything. Then I'm gonna close the board meeting at 8:45.
And when it comes to every gathering, and when